Brother Bill, verse 18, please.
And to the angel of the church in Thyatira write, these things says the Son of God, who has eyes like a flame of fire and his feet like fine brass.
Thank you. Thyatira is a small city, and it's a blue-collar city. This city is also, remember we said, in the same region of what we're speaking about last all 7 churches. Thyatira was a smaller city than the rest, than Smyrna and Pergamos. They were major cities. Ephesus, huge city. Thyatira was a very small city, very blue-collar city, meaning that, they didn't have those big universities. They didn't have all these scholars in here. This particular city, they had union works. They had a union guilds. They had the leather work, bronze work, manufacturing city. This city had the guilds, the trade guilds, they call them, the goldsmiths, which was like the union today. So they had the gold, they manufactured gold there, bronze, leather, and also dyeing city. They made color. They dyed, and they were very famous for the color purple. Their special purple color, which was made in this particular city, was the best in the world. No other city in the world produced purple, and purple was the most popular color in that time, in that era, in that time. It was very demanded color. It was the color of regal. Everybody wanted it. It was a very popular color. So that color being so, and this city managed to produce that color on garments as the best as possible. Nobody else did bright purple like they did. Now, the Lord represented himself as a Son of God, which is giving his character and his deity. See here, remember, Lord, in the beginning of every church, represented himself in a different way. And this time here, he could have said Son of Man, but that would take away from his deity. He wanted to talk to this church with an authority. This church is a very important role he's going to play. I want to go on record saying that I'm not putting, we're going to get to a lot of details. This church is going to represent almost entirely, because it's Dark Ages, so it's going to be the Catholic Church almost covered in this particular church. So I'm not trying to put any church down. It's just that the Lord's explanation I'm trying to explain. The following church, the next church we're going to come to, which is the dead church, is going to be the Protestant church. So everybody's going to get, the Lord is an equal opportunity employer. So he gives everybody the same grief and the same commandments. He gives everybody great work. He also tells everybody whatever they did wrong. So nobody's left out. We're not going to sit here and go, oh, this church and that church. It's not that. It's about the style of a church, okay? We're not talking about a particular church, or the style of a church. So I just want to go on record saying that. But here, the Lord is saying, very importantly, is his character. He's saying the Son of God. You see, in the old days, even in today, in the Middle East, you represent yourself by whose son you are, and that shows your character. That shows who you are. If you are so-and-so son, oh, everybody knows the son of so-and-so. Son of, son of Coco the mechanic. So everybody knows. So it gives you your character. It gives you who you are by your father's character, by your father's name. It's a very important place here. So here, Jesus is saying, Son of God, representing himself, that his deity, that he is God, and he's given him a commandment, and it's very important that he's going to give to them. All right, so this period time of the church, which is Thyatira, it's the corrupt church. It's from 600 AD till now. It's from 600 till now, okay? So especially from 600 to 1500 is the actual time of it. But this church is still going on today. See, all the churches that we're going to come from today and on, the rest of the churches are all going to be existing today. All the churches that we're going to talk about. The first 3 churches we just finished, those are past churches. The churches we are going to come to, the next 4, including today, are existed today. So this particular church time frame, 600 to 1500, which basically gives us the Dark Ages, but also today. Now he also says eyes of flame, which is heat, and brass feet, which is judgment. You see, judgment for sin. Brass represents always judgment in the gospel. In the Bible, the brass represents because it's worked with heat. You see, in order for brass to be manufactured, they need heat and fire. So that judgment from God is showing. So he said eyes of flame, which means also eyes, everything's open, he can see it all. When his eyes are flame, it's like he sees it all at all times. He's never sleeping, so the flame is always on. His eyes are always open. He's watching the church. He's watching us today and back then very carefully. And he's coming in with a judgment. Verse 19, brother, would you read for us, please?
I know your works, love, service, faith, and your patience. And as for your works, the last are more than the first.
Thank you. Here, he's commending them. As we said earlier, how the Lord always starts out with every church, and he gives them important factors. First, he gives them the positive affirmation, corrective exhortation, and eternal motivation. So right now, what he's doing is he's giving them his positive affirmation. He told them 6 major things. He said, 6 things I commend you on, bravo, very much. Love, faith, growing, good church. This church is a very good church. It's growing. It has all the good characteristics of a good church to be. This says, and he said the last is better than the first. That means you're growing. You're growing. That's well, we know that because the church is still now. So this church is growing very rapidly. This church is very strong and powerful. Verse 20, please. This now comes the but. Now you got the good boy, and now you're going to get, okay, but let's talk about what did you do wrong. Please.
Nevertheless, I have a few things against you, because you allow that woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess, to teach and seduce my servants to commit sexual immorality and eat things sacrificed to idols.
And go ahead, verse 21 also, please.
And I gave her time to repent of her sexual immorality, and she did not repent.
Okay. Let's start off with the first thing. It says Jezebel. The word Jezebel, in the Bible, the word Jezebel, the name Jezebel, it's the most evil woman ever lived. The most evil woman ever lived in the Bible is Jezebel. So now, people naming their children, they always have to kind of bypass that name really fast, because that name is kind of like a no-no name. So it represents something very anti-God and evil. Now, in the color purple, remember from Sunday's message that I gave, we also had Lydia from Thyatira, seller of purple, and most likely she started the church in Thyatira. In the book of Acts, there was Lydia who came to Paul, Apostle Paul, and asked, so he could come and preach. And so she was a saleswoman. She was selling purple garments. She was very famous. She was a very good salesperson. And she convinced Paul to come to Thyatira and start the church. And most likely, she was probably one of the first founders of the church of Thyatira. She probably was one of the heads of that. Now, Jezebel, as we said again on Sunday's message when we were speaking about the prophet, Jezebel worshipped Ashtaroth as the queen of heaven. See, she worshipped Ashtaroth as the queen of heaven, which is Semiramis, again. Which we saw this in Jeremiah chapter 7 and chapter 20.